So we're going to go over Alberto Lopez's list. This was actually in Mexico. So shout out to my fellow Mexicans. Por la raza. So we have his interesting list. I'm going to show you gets. So he said, WAAAGH, question mark. What the? Don't be questioning the wall. So then we have a Big Mech in Mega Armor, a Death Killer Wartrike with Super Cyborg Body, Captain Badrook, Mazrat's Cragbag, and a Painboy with Cunning but Brutal. I know some of you guys really like that. You know, and always talk to me about it. We know Mad Doc already have it built in, but he doesn't get to regen guys to his unit. And some people like the syringe, or maybe you just don't have a Mad Doc model. You're like, whatever. Then you have a War Boss with Follow Me, and then another War Boss without it. Now here you can see he has the big brick of boys. Guess what else is in this list? 3 trucks and the battle wagon. That's for the boys. That's for the War Boss, you know. And then we have the Flash Kits, Gretchen, big unit of Mega Knobs for the Big Mech and Mega Armor, and then the knobs with the War Boss. I'm not sure which one had Follow Me lads. Maybe it just matchup dependent. He threw the War Boss, Follow Me lads, maybe in the boys, maybe in the knobs. You know, you never know what he chose to do. Both make sense. We have the Storm Boy unit and a War Biker unit. So I'm very into these kind of lists that have the big unit of boys. Then he has the Big Mech for regenning guys, and then putting him a 4-up invuln. So it's a different kind of durability. Death Killer Wartrike to run up the field and kind of take the presence. No Mandos. So let's see some of his matchups real quick. And of course, like I said, I actually have some data sheets for his last loss we could talk about in the combos, but let's look at his wins. So we have Death Guard. Very interesting right off the bat. Biologist Putrefier, Foul Blightspawn, Lord of Virulence, and Mortarion. So we're very familiar with Death Guard. They're looking to throw free grenades into you, get lethals on crits on 5s, such like that. So big unit of Plague Marine, another unit of Plague Marine, Brick, a big fat mat unit. Remember, Mortarion also gives the ability to ignore your modifiers, so he doesn't care about hard as nails. We have the Death Guard Rhino, and then the Plague Burst Crawlers, triple Plague Burst Crawlers. What's interesting is that Mortarion allows them to ignore the debuff or the penalty for indirect fire. So keep that in mind. Then 2 units of Nurglings. We know what they can do here. What I'm happy to see as an Orc player right now is that we're not seeing the Death Shroud combination on this list. This list archetype is already difficult enough to deal with Death Guard, but when you would throw the Death Shrouds into there, it's really problematic. This could either be the missions came into play. Maybe they underestimated the or overestimated the survivability of Mortarion into Orcs. Don't know exactly what went into this matchup, but just know as an Orc player, the kind of abilities you're going to have to deal with on this is dealing with the Rhinos that can't be really shot, and you're going to most likely want to wrap them, tag them, stop them from moving into where the positions they want to be, and just killing anything that he's using for scoring. So as you can see, he doesn't really have scoring units here. So every time you kill something that's trying to score him points, or if you don't give him a good fix secondary as his second one, right? So don't compound, assassinate, and bring it down, because then you're throwing it away. You have way more likelihood to kind of win those kind of matchups. Then we go into his second matchup. The world is green. He went to another green tribe. So let's go. We have a Beast Boss and Squigglesaur with Edwap's Kid Chop, Captain Badrook, Mazgraw's Crashbag, Follow Me Lads on a War Boss, and a Super Cyborg Body on a War Boss. Now, I've done that before, you know. People would argue kind of a Brute was better. We have 3 Truck, 1 Flash Kit, Gretchen, 2 units of Big Knobs, 3 man units of Squighog Boys, and 2 Storm Boy units. Still a very good Orc list. Nothing wrong with this Orc list. Got nothing bad to say about it, really. You know, and he just went for the Beast Boss and Squigglesaur instead of Maz. I mean, not with Maz, excuse me, instead of the Naban Smash Edwap's Kill Chopper. But I see he went for more utility with 3-man units. You know, that's the flexibility of Squighog Boys. And just to say, in my humble experience, when you're going with Orcs, you know, if you go second, you're going to be in a bit of an issue here. As an Orc player, you don't really want to go second to another Orc necessarily, unless you're very, very cunning and you can understand how to take advantage of that. Or it's just, you know, it becomes a very chaotic, crazy game with Orcs on Orcs. So, you know, that can go either way. But Gerald, Nieto, you had a great list too. So no shame in that. Sometimes it just comes down to generalship or who goes second. So he can be messy. Then we have his third matchup, which is Chaos Space. We have Abaddon the Spoiler, Lucas the Eternal, and Warpsmith. I believe Lucas like fights on death or something funny. And then Abaddon, of course, with his rerolls. You know, the Chaos Marines are going to slightly be shifting into gun lions, right? So in my opinion, we have a Chaos Biker. I think these guys actually get picked up and come back off the table edge. Kind of fun. Land Raider with Las Cannons. Chosen, Forge Fiend with Hades Autocannon. A Hellbrute, which has an interesting kind of weird abilities and utility in his own way. Noise Marines, that's interesting. I haven't seen Noise Marine being used much at all. A Beast of Nurgle. Beast of Nurgles are oddly durable. They're like T7 or T8, I can't remember. With 7 wounds, and they fully regen at the end of the phase if you don't one-shot them. One time at a GT, I had a Maz get stuck in combat with the Beast of Nurgle for like 3 rounds of combat, and Maz was losing by the end of it. So we have Nurglings, War Dog Carnivore, and a War Dog Carnivore. So carnivores are fine for their points value. this can be, you know, one of those matchups that if you allocate your resources incorrectly, as in you're just like, oh man, I'm really gonna go for you're gonna try to touch them real quick and throw into all the land raider into the chosen and not really worry about what their firepower can do to me. No, their firepower can definitely take you out. And Abaddon can just dissect one of your characters and then kind of sometimes absorb the clapback. And carnivores are just like a weird fighting unit. This is not the most efficient chaos space marine list, but just know, you know, it can beat you, it can catch you off guard. But I think orcs as a whole, we do fine into the melee version of chaos space marines. It comes down to how crazy is their gun line and what's the terrain looking like. Then we have his fourth matchup, which is Space Marines, Black Templar, Ironstorm, Spearhead. Oh, and thanks for that. Noise Marines can force a battle shock test, which is very important for you orc players to keep in mind because battle shock hurts us greatly, which is why Tyranids can be a problematic issue. Well, thanks for that. We have High Marshal Hellbrick, Lieutenant, Tech Marine with Arguing Away Array, and the Emperor's Champion. Primaris Crusader Squad, very nice for Space Marines. Cheap, a lot of bodies, good amount of wounds. You know, other armies don't like to see it. Orcs just think I'm going to crump all that. Impulsor, Ballistus Dreadnought, Gladiator Reaper, pretty good for the Orcs matchup. Another Gladiator Reaper, Infiltrators, keep that in mind. We have the God Hammer Land Raider. We don't hate to see that as much as we would hate to see a bunch of Flamers. We have the Sword Brethren Squad, Repulsor Executioner, and Scouts. Oh, okay. We got the Scouts boys taking up that mid table as well, like we've been talking about. This to me, Space Marines can definitely be hard, but they're gonna run out of resources for scoring. You're gonna dissect their kill their scouts. You know, whenever they get into combat with you, very much work for the fighting and death trade. And by the end of the game, you might be able to see them, and keep playing the secondary mission, denying them their primary instead of trying to fight to survive on primary for the first two turns is very important. So how you play the mission and go about it as a orc player into Space Marine, Black Templars, or a very strong Space Marine list is how are you allocating your resources? What is your rate of attrition? Are you throwing away your stuff turn 1 and turn 2 for primary, or are you reserving your primary scoring so that you can score your secondaries, dissect their army and their scoring potential on secondaries, and then just start beating them on secondaries and primary turn 4-5 or 3-4-5 once they're kind of running out of steam from you fighting in death and you kind of choosing the engagements and tagging their transports or their dreadnoughts. Like the Ballistus Dread isn't like that effective into orcs. It doesn't really do anything that great, in my opinion, just saying. And then is his last matchup with Space Marines. Now, he said, in Lenin, I trust. Now, if you don't know what that means, he's talking about John Lennon from Art of War. He's the one who kind of came up with this archetype of I'm going to play Vanguard Spearhead in a very cagey, very skilled manner. So do you have to be aware of this? If there's someone good enough in your meta that can figure this out, because reactionary movements and shenanigans are always good, but they can also have a huge margin for error that they just get annihilated if they mess up. So we have an Apothecary Biologist with the blade-driven beat, Malleus Calgar, which we'll look at him in a second, and then we have Urinal Ventress, which allows you to use strats twice pretty much, and then he'll go in the company hero squad right here most likely. We have a Centurion Devastator squad. These guys can pretty much come off the table edge, come back on the table edge from the Vanguard, get +1 AP, and then just decide, hey, I'm just going to annihilate you from whatever angle of fire I want to get and destroy and reliably destroy anything anti-tanked and mostly in the game. And create an Eradicator squad, which is another kind of reliable anti-tank in a weird way. Not in a weird way, but like most units for 95 points aren't that effective on their own data sheet. So we really like to see that. A bigger unit of Eradicators. An Inceptor squad where he decided, I'm going to go all in, make it one big unit. This could be another unit that decides I'm going to take advantage of these strats. That's why they're making these bricks of it. But then he follows up with the smaller one for scoring and then another big one. They're going for the big ones because they're all about shenanigans. They're all about coming in from the table edges. This is why I'm a big fan of, right now, Infiltrators and even like a Death Killer War Trike take table edges to stop people from coming in where they want to do. And then 2 Scouts. We have the Cladius Assassin and then the Inquisitorial Henchman. Very, very cagey army to deal with. Manius Calgar, we'll show you him real quick. Manius Calgar gives you +1 CP. That's on top of Ventress allowing you to double use strats. So you got to be aware of, hey, they're going to be using the same strats multiple times in weird ways. And then if he has the Honor Guard, which actually, did he have the Honor Guard in his list? Did I miss them? If he did have the Honor Guard, they would give him Feel No Pain, but you don't necessarily need the Honor Guard to play him. Nope, he didn't bring him. But just so you know, if he has that, he's a 4 Feel No Pain. He fights pretty good on his own. 6 attack, strength 8, -3/3, and then there's twin linked. So even if he's wounding you on 5s, he can be problematic on his own. And he's quite durable. Very fun character. Like I said, this is one of those things that you might not see at your local meta necessarily, but just know it's out there and it's very powerful. It does take a certain kind of players to start getting into that, right? So shout out to Alberto Lopez. Whoa, for my fellow Mexican.